What is up, guys? It's McMahon Chief Fan here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a discussion video. And if you don't know what a discussion video is, then end it. No, I'm just kidding. That's way too dark. I went way too dark there. I'm going to be doing a discussion video, and the one thing that I want to ask is, can you guys comment? I really want to comments to come in about this topic, which is why I'm doing this. I want discussions. I'm kind of bored here. But, yeah, I'm really excited because I'm kind of experimenting with different videos. Tell me if this is a good idea for a video or not. So, I'm not going to drag this out any longer. The topic of my video is going to be long books. So, I'm not going to drag this out any longer. I keep saying that over and over and over again. I already said it twice. Let's get started. I feel like people have different views on long books. Some people can say that a 500-page book is a long book, and some people can view a 700-page book and say, yeah, that book, I can get through it in an hour. Yeah, I don't think anybody should get through a 700-page book in an hour. That's insane. Like, how can you even retain a story? But I love yet hate long books. Not just for the intimidation. I have other reasons why I kind of have a bad side with long books. However, this may sound like a hypocrite of me because my favorite book of 2016 so far is Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon, and yeah, it's exactly, to be exact, my copy is 766 pages. 776. Wow. However, this is the type of story that you need loads of pages to tell. Even though this has the weirdest premise ever, because it's about a man named Slothrop who, whenever he has sex, a bomb drops on the exact location where he had that sexual activity. Isn't that just a fun old time? Ha! So, yeah, Gravity's Rainbow is an example of a book done right. It's the type of story that needs loads of pages to tell. It has loads of great detail, and it gives out great characters, great complex language, and a complex story. Pretty much, this book is full of complexity, which I am all for. And another book that does something like that is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. I keep moving to books like that. So, Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace is yet another example of a long book done right. Because this is the type of story that needs 1,000 pages of words to tell. Because, and plus, it's small text. This book is pretty much 4 books in one. And not like, oh, there's different parts, there's 4 different mini-novels. No, he intertwines 4 different stories into one book, and through multiple perspectives, both third and first person, and even second person at some points, I think. It's great, though. He constructs it so perfectly. Well, not perfectly. There are a couple flaws I have with this book, but it's great. I personally thought it was really great. And yet again, this is the type of story that needs this type of length. It's great. It's personally a great book. It's one of the closest books I ever got to a 5-star, but just didn't. But that's another video for another day. Now, let me go in more depth with the pros and cons of long books. The pros, of course, is that there's more. There's more complex language, there's more characters that you could fit in, there's more story that you could fit in, there's just more leg room to spread out and spread your ideas all over the floor with, and just, it's really, it's kind of a good idea. A lot of long books are really complex, and they're some of the greatest stories ever told in forms of long books. But this also leads to some of the cons of this. My major problem with the long books is the type of stories they're telling. For every book that has the type of story, that does have the type of story a long book can have, there's a long book that doesn't have the right story that a long book should have. Now, what are these long books these type of stories you're talking about, Graham? Well, in my opinion, a long book shouldn't really have that much of a realistic story. If a book goes on and on and on about real life and history, then that's no good. Well, I know history books can go with that, but I'm more talking about novels, fiction. If a realistic book goes on and on and on, then it's going to become boring because you read fiction for escapism and not just, oh, I'm gonna read this just because I have to. Well, sometimes, but that's yet again another video for another day. But honestly, you can't really get in the groove of a realistical fiction book more than like 500 pages, for me at least. That's at least for me. And it just wasn't, and a perfect example of a book that just doesn't do good with its, that I just don't like and think it's just personally way too long, is It by Stephen King. I know I shouldn't say this because I technically didn't finish the book, but I got more than halfway through it before quitting, but yeah, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And at first I was kind of confused on why I didn't like it. It was just, maybe it was the story, maybe it was the characters. Well, it was a fusion of all that, because I learned that this is not the type of book that should be that should be an 1,100 page book. And if that makes any sense at all, it just matters on the type of story. That's just all I have to say. That's all I have to say with long book. No, it isn't. Ugh, this is why I don't normally do discussion videos. That is my major issue with long books. That was what I was meaning to say. I'm off script, if you can probably tell. But, there are a few more problems that tie in with this, type of story complaint that I have with long books. Sometimes the pacing can be god-awful. For example, we're going back to It by Stephen King. It had atrociously bad pacing. I've only seen one book where the pacing was worse, and that was A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens! But yeah, it's just the pacing, since the type of story wasn't the type of story that fits a long book, he had to drag it out. So that made the book seem much longer than it actually was, even though it was a massive book. But does that mean all bad books are bad and should be completely unrealistic? No. In fact, Gravity's Rainbow is technically a historical fiction novel, but at the same time it's kind of not, because it's there's a lot of situations that would not fit in with World War II. But if you're just going flat out realistic, which is what I feel like Stephen King was kind of doing, then yeah, it won't work. It really won't work. You have to have that element of disbelief in order to make a book long. So that's my views on long books. I know this is kind of a disjointed video, and it was just kind of like, what is he talking about? If you guys want to see more discussion videos like this, I know these are kind of boring, but, what am I gonna do? So, tell me in the comments what you guys think about long books, and I'll probably most likely reply. So, that's all I gotta say. I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys. My goodness, this video was kind of bad.